Welcome back, episode 2. This is the Coach's Car Ride Home podcast. I'm your host, Lauren, and I'm here with my dad, Paul.
Thanks for joining us. Good to see everybody again.
Yeah, thank you for joining us for another week on the podcast. We just want to thank everyone from last week who tuned in, subscribed. We got a lot of really good feedback from some of our parents and players and some people who aren't even really involved in the volleyball world. So
and keep reaching out and sending us feedback and comments and things you want us to talk about.
Yeah, thanks for the support. Definitely subscribe now so that you get the notification when we have a new podcast, and then comment some topics below that you want us to talk about.
Right. So what are we going to talk about today?
So today we are going to jump right in. We're going to start talking about our practices leading up to our tournament this weekend.
We have a tournament this weekend, the Tampa Gasparilla tournament, which we love that tournament. That's a lot of fun. It's right there at the Tampa Convention Center on the Bay, I guess it's the Bay. And beautiful venue, beautiful town, cool area, 3-day tournament, lots of good quality competition. So I think we play it almost every year.
Yeah, I think I remember playing it every single year, and I was playing too. It's the same tournament. It's so fun. They have like the pirate ship that's right there. I think Gasparilla, they celebrate like an actual festival last weekend. So it's always, still winding down from that big party. We usually stay at a hotel within walking distance. The weather's usually great. So we really love Tampa as a city.
Yeah, we've had some success there over the years, and it's a good warm up to the qualifiers coming up real soon.
Yeah. Definitely. Our qualifiers are going to be here before you know it.
Yeah.
So let's talk about this week. We have a Tuesday and Thursday practice. We just practiced yesterday on Sunday. So we have some things that we definitely like to do before a tournament. One of them is just being, how are we going to prepare and how do we make that practice plan going into a tournament week?
So, you have to look at, and we do this, what happened in the last tournament and what are the things we need to work on. Mm-hmm. And so we always have a clipboard and we're taking notes during the tournament and then watching game film about what can we improve on moving forward. Where were our weaknesses? It's pretty hard to see your weaknesses when you're in the heat of the moment in the game, but when you look back at that game film, you really can see that. And shout out to our parents that record the games, because without that we'd be lost. And using Huddle is a great tool for us because you were making notes to the players and you were making a practice plan.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I spent some time on Saturday just, making notes to all my kids. If you don't use Huddle out there, highly suggest. If your club is not using Huddle, reach out to us. We can try and help you get involved in that, but it's a great tool. So parents basically upload the videos of the game, they'll record the whole game, and it gets transcribed, and you put in the jersey numbers, and then it basically detects and it tells you what happens each play, who passes it, what kind of pass is it. They actually updated it so when somebody hits the ball, it tells you the speed, which I think is so cool. Yeah, they're getting AI kind of involved and integrated in it, so when they serve, it's like, oh, that was a 40-mile-per-hour serve.
I haven't seen that. And
yeah,
the stats are really valuable to us to look at the number of sets a particular player is getting versus other players, and then their kill percentages and service percentages and all those things, and it can really help us talk to the players too and show them the hard stats about here's where you may need a little improvement or here's where you're doing really good.
Yeah, it shows their tendencies too. So we're always telling kids, don't hit to middle back, don't hit to middle back. And then I print out that paper for them where it shows every single line is going to middle back.
And they go, oh.
And they go, oh, I do hit there a lot. Yeah. So it's kind of that visual tool for a lot of kids too. So again, we could probably do a whole thing on Huddle.
Right. That's not what we're talking about.
No, so this past weekend, I did look at our championship game from our last tournament. I think that was a really big game, a high-speed game for us where I kind of picked apart just a few things. So going into this week, I tried to pick maybe not a few huge topics. I'm not going to teach them a whole brand new thing. We're just going to look at something that maybe a couple points I saw. For example, standing up in defense, right? Our kids were standing up. So a whole practice on Sunday, we worked on staying low in defense, how we're going to get transitioned from, our base defense all the way into our rotational defense, staying low, ready to react to the ball.
Right. Well, we have 2 weeks between tournaments, so you're not going to teach completely new skills and defenses and whatever, but little tweaks to what we're already doing can make a big improvement.
Yeah, for sure. And then, we also Another one we just picked on, and this is just something that I saw, was when our middle was playing that left back defense instead of the libero, is her out of system setting. And so we spent, about 10 minutes in practice just letting our middle set out of system, because it's a skill that they need that maybe we don't ever focus on completely. So it's definitely those little skills where is going to help them grow.
Right. Going back to the staying low, right? So you saw that on the game film, but what kind of practice plan did you come up with to address that?
So I usually start back to the square one, right? We have to remember these kids are still 13, 14 years old. And I love to say, maybe they were never taught this before. Maybe they never were shown this. So
Or maybe they were shown it and it didn't really sink in.
Right. They need a lot of reminders. They need a lot of practice in it. So
it's all about reps.
It's all about reps. So we kind of just started on the end line and we did some crab walks to the net. I said, if you can't touch the floor, you're not low enough, right? This is teaching their legs, okay, if it's burning, it's probably good. I'm low enough. And then we just progressed from there. We did free ball passing, and we did a lot of not swinging our arms and staying low and using our legs to pass.
Do you think some of it, as far as getting low and staying low in a game, comes from like feeling uncomfortable or self-conscious? Because it's not like a natural movement, right, where you're squatting down and you're being low, and the tendency is to kind of bend over rather than get low. So it looks like there's always some sort of hesitancy on some of their parts.
Yeah, I think, when you teach a kid to run, is like you're not teaching them to run with their legs squatted down. So it's hard to kind of retrain your brain to, okay, stay low and I'm going to take a couple steps and lunge to a ball. Or even at the net with our blockers, is you want to have a little bend in your knees. A lot of them keep their legs locked, and then it's harder lateral movement. Right. So
one of my pet peeves is the tippy-toed block jump, where you're standing straight up and then you're just extending your toes to jump. Never works.
Right.
It's the bending down and the getting low.
Bend down and engage your quads. I think that's where it is, because even in passing, we want to engage our quads and lift that ball back up. We have a lot more accuracy when we're not swinging the arms and we're using legs to guide the ball to target.
But then we also worked on not standing up in defense or in serve receive, because the tendency is you see the ball coming, the first thing you want to do is stand straight up.
Right.
But you really have to stay low, and you have to move staying low, because by the time you stand up, move, and get low again, it's too late.
Yep. You lose about 3 seconds, and that's from getting to a ball or letting the ball hit the floor, is by standing up and getting back down, or standing up and taking that forward motion and then trying to drop back down.
So then what did we do in that practice plan? We started with the crab walks to the end and then progressed, right?
We did crab walks, and then we did, a partner situation where you toss the ball in front of your partner and they had to stay low and touch the floor in between while taking a step forward to dig that ball, just to kind of train their brain and their mind. Okay, I'm going to stay low and lift the ball back up with my legs. And then we kind of just did, again, free ball passing, staying low, lifting the ball. We progressed to down balls and then more difficult balls to get to. And then we did team defense, which I think is always a good reminder for them. We did go over perimeter. If you listened last week, you knew that we haven't really reviewed too much of it, but we did do that on Sunday as well.
So we have perimeter in our back pocket now, so we can go to that if we need to.
Definitely. Speaking of defense, why don't you talk about just a few things maybe we reviewed in practice? We slowed it down. We kind of made a little bit of adjustments based on what we want them to increase their volleyball IQ if we ask them to do it mid-game.
Well, the first thing was to review positioning in both defenses that we run, perimeter and rotational. And so we noticed a little bit of being kind of off in their locations, and that's fine because they're young and they haven't been playing these sort of defenses real long. So we worked on getting them into the proper positioning. So one of us was at the net acting as the hitter, and we placed everybody where they should be on the court. But then the progression from that is how to make adjustments once you're in the right position. So you got to get to the right position, then read the hitter and make your adjustment. Is that hitter hitting to my right, to my left? Are they rolling? Are they tipping? Are they, hitting the ball hard cross? Are they hitting the ball line? And once we got them to engage, seeing the hitter's shoulders, where they're turning, where their arm is, vocalizing that so everybody on the team understands, and then moving to those positions, we covered the court a lot better. So that was just some of the things we worked on.
Yeah. And then, based off hitter tendencies, we also kind of talked to them maybe about a hybrid between that rotational and perimeter defense. You know, if we're playing a team where they're pin hitters, and for the parents that don't know what a pin hitter is, it's the ones not in the middle of the court.
The ones near the pins.
Yes, near the pins, which are the antenna.
The outside and the right side.
Yep. So if they're not hitting down the line, they're not, swinging down the line as much, and they're moving more towards that middle back, pull that player off middle back. Let them read the hitter a little bit, right? So just kind of teaching them some things that they can look out for without coach having to always be down their back.
Yeah, getting smart about the other team, because we play the same teams over and over again throughout the season, or throughout even a tournament, or even from set 1 to set 2 to set 3. So we're trying to get them to get that volleyball IQ and learn to recognize players on the other team and their tendencies.
Yes.
So, that girl always hits cross.
Yep.
So we're going to adjust cross on her. We're going to adjust the block. We're going to adjust the defense. And then, that girl can hit line and cross. Well, now we have to protect both. Or that one tips a lot because she's not confident in her swing. So now we're going to make sure we're covering tips.
Right. Or just in between point and point, right? It's like, okay, she just hit 1 or 2 balls out of bounds, or maybe we blocked her once or twice. She's probably going to tip next time, right? So making sure, okay, I'm always thinking what that next ball is that maybe that girl is going to go after is, okay, what's my open spot? The roll shot into the middle, campfire, whatever you want to call it. Maybe that's the next open spot. I want to make sure I'm ready to go dig that ball.
Yeah, so I think the biggest thing that the light bulb went off, that moment of, I get this, was when they started recognizing what the hitters were going to do. And you can see it if you look for it, but if you're focused on the ball the whole time and never looking at the hitter, you're not going to see it. So we worked really hard on recognizing what the hitters are going to do, and we could see them making adjustments. I could see them, all of a sudden they're starting to move in the right direction before the ball even gets contacted.
Yep. And then, something else that we're going to work on to prepare ourselves is just serve receive. I mean, we could talk about serve receive every single time.
It's the most important
thing what we do. Serve receive. So we usually...
If you can't serve receive, you're never going to score any points.
No, you won't win. So we work on, side out first ball, which, again, if you're newer to volleyball, that's going to be when you're in the serve receive, the other team is serving at you. You're going to want to side out on that very first opportunity that you have, because, there's a statistic out there. If you're siding out, I think over 60-something%, you're probably winning that match.
Right.
So that's something that we focus on.
Yeah, and just a side note to that, on better teams and higher level teams and older teams, a lot of times when there's a coin toss, they'll select receive because they know they can side out on that first ball, get the first point, take control of the game.
Yep.
In the younger ages, it doesn't always happen because you feel like you're more powerful in your serve and you might have a better chance of scoring on serve. But yeah, something to watch out for.
Yeah, for sure. Or something to think about.
Well, as we get better and more confident in serve receive, then that's something we're going to do. And I mean, we do wind up with serve receive a lot because we sometimes will choose side versus serve because we like certain side of the court just for coaching reasons. And the players are comfortable with it and so on. So many teams, when they win the coin toss, they'll take serve. And we're happy to get receive because we're confident in our serve receive and that we can get that first point.
Yeah, and the side that we like. Yeah.
Too.
We're all about the side that we like. And so let's talk a little bit more about our serve receive and maybe that the setter hitter connections and then serving. How does this all play in during our our week? We were just talking about huddle. Our girls are starting to look into those numbers. This is a really good statistic if you are a passer. We're ranking it a 1, 2, or 3 pass. So maybe just talk a little bit about what that means.
Right. So when you talk about the quality of a pass, it's either a 1, 2, or a 3, or a 0. A 0 is one that you shank and goes out of bounds, and we lose the point. A 1 is a pass that basically one hitter has the option to hit because it's kind of off the court and it's hard and we're throwing it up and one person can hit. A 2 is something we can get to 2 hitters, and a 3 is something we can get to 3 hitters. But it's more the quality of the pass. The more it's to the setter spot, the more it's got some height and close to the net, it gives us more opportunity to set different hitters. We want to be able to set 3 or 4 hitters every time. We're running a 6-2 offense, which means we have 3 hitters in the front row, left, center, and right, and we have the back row option available as well. So we really have 4 hitters. So if we can get a quality pass, a 2 or a 3 on our scale of 0 to 4, then we can set 2, 3, or 4 hitters. Makes it harder on the defense. They don't know where the ball's coming from. We have a lot more options. We can get our hot hitter, whoever's doing really well involved, or we can fool the defense and set somebody they're not expecting. But it all depends on the quality of that pass. So they can look in huddle and see in a game how many ones they had, how many twos they had, how many threes they had, and they can set goals to improve that. And in practice, we'll tell them too. We'll do drills just like we did the other day where we'll rank them out loud on every pass. So as soon as they pass the ball, we'll say 2, we'll say 1, we'll say 3, and we'll make it competitive. Get as many threes as you can, or add up your quality of passes, and the first one gets to 20 or 25, wins that competition. So it's a good tool for us to use.
Yeah, and definitely, a good numbers thing. I think a lot of times our girls have goals and we try to put numbers on it. And so this is something, maybe last tournament, one of our girls passed a 2.8. I'm just making this up. Or maybe like a 2.5. And then this tournament, it's her goal over the whole weekend to pass a 2.8, right? That would be great because that means
That'd be amazing.
That'd be amazing. I mean, we're probably a little lower than that right now, but throughout the whole season, they can then make that goal.
And see improvement.
So definitely look at those statistics, and parents, make them a huddle account, go on there, look at that with them, right? Spend the time to go through huddle and look with your kid and see maybe where they're struggling or where they can improve or where they're doing really well. Because that sometimes when you're younger, I don't want to sit down and look at that with my parent, right? But if you make it fun and you say, hey, let's make this a game and I'll help you.
Yeah, but don't treat it like a report card. Like, you got a 2 and you need to get a 3. No, It's like, hey, do you see a place where you can improve?
Yeah.
Or is there something that you see in huddle or in the stats that you can talk to coach about? Hey, how can I get better at this? Or what can I work on in practice to get better at this?
Yeah. So let's talk about that 3 pass, right? So another topic that we really wanted to touch on today was getting our middles involved early. Typically when you have a 3 pass, it means that you can set both your pin hitters and your middle, all 3 of your front row hitters. So that means we're in system and we're able to set our middle. So maybe let's talk a little bit about why it's important to establish our middles early on in the game.
So important. If the one thing we could do would be to establish middles early in the game. And that's because it sets the tone for the game, right? We can get some early kills. We can get them involved so they're not standing around watching or getting in the way. But it also opens up the pin hitters, those outside hitters. So if the defense on the other team has to concentrate on our middle, they're like, oh, they're setting the middle, and that middle could score. Now the middle blocker on the other side has to focus hard on that middle, which opens up our outsides to either single blocks or late blocks of the middle getting over, which makes it so much easier for us to score across the board. So middle involvement, really key, and we have great middles on our team, so it's even better for us to be able to involve those middles.
Yeah, and if you're a parent or you're another player and you're feeling, why is that girl getting set so many times, right? Why is that girl getting the ball all the time at the beginning of the game? I want to hit the ball too. It's probably because they're trying to establish their middles, right? They're trying to tell the other team, it's like your back pocket weapon, like, hey, look, this is what we got, you better watch out. And so that the rest of the game, it's a big guessing game on the defense for the other team of, okay, where's this perfect pass going? It's probably going to the middle. Now I'm late to close the block, and our pin hitters have, wide open net to swing straight down.
Right, and if you're a pin hitter, there's nothing better than having a single block, because you can go around that easily. When you have a double block, it gets a lot harder.
Yeah, and maybe if you are a pin hitter and you get the single block because your middle pulled that middle with them, go thank them.
Yeah.
Give them a hug because they did that for you.
Well, and the other thing that we tell middles all the time, and I harp on it endlessly because they don't do it very often, is to continue the fake even if they're not getting the ball. If they know they're not getting the ball, don't just stop and watch, because that clues the other team that, hey, we got to go block the outside. Run through, jump, and swing every single time, because it holds that other middle blocker and opens up our pins. Yeah,
and coming from a middle, it is so frustrating when you have a really good setter who fakes you out and you're like, oh, crap. And then you're trying to get out to block them, and, then you do have a hole, and it's a whole thing. And I think, coming from a middle, it's really fun to help your team score points, right? Like, we might not get as much recognition for just being the one that's always in the way and always running over the setter and always just being loud and whatever, but we are the ones who are loud and holding those other middles and giving our outside right side hitters, single blocks, and scoring points early in the game and things like that.
It also shows you how everybody on the team is important. Even if you're not the one getting the ball, you're important. You have a job to do. Job is to hold that other middle. Or if you're the right side, your job is to hold that blocker as well. If you're in the back row, it's to cover that hitter. So everybody's always got a job to do. There's no, like we say, no spectators on the court.
No spectators. So how this week are we going to help our middles become more involved and make sure that they feel comfortable and confident to be established early in the game?
Well, we're going to focus on great passing, number one.
Serve, receive.
Number two, we're going to discuss with our setters the importance of getting those middles involved and keeping them involved, and discuss with the middles the importance of them being involved. It just doesn't happen miraculously. They have to transition. They have to get back. They have to be open and available and be loud. So
Be loud.
that's something that we have to work on, and we'll work on that in practice this week leading into that tournament. Oh, one other thing about middles.
Go ahead.
Traditionally, if you look at stats, which I look at stats a lot, middles always have the highest hitting percentage.
Yeah.
Because they get set a little bit less, but they keep the ball in the court a lot more, and they score a lot more because they're not blocked as much as the outsides and the right sides. So getting the middle of the ball more with a higher hitting percentage means we're going to score more points. So that's another reason to keep feeding them the ball whenever we can.
Yeah, definitely. Any free ball goes to our middle. That's something that we coach a lot on right now is if we get a good free ball pass, you better set your middle. Right, it's a point every time because it's such a fast offense when it plays out of the middle, right? So parents,
Well, we're lucky enough to have really good middles.
we do,
And not every team does. A lot of teams we play don't. They're still developing at this age. So
We do.
we're lucky enough to have that, and some teams don't. But
we do. But I mean, if you want to talk to the parents about, or I can about when you set the outside, you have two blockers in front. You kind of just said this, and when you set the right side, there's two blockers in front. There's not very many often teams where there's two blockers in front of your middle, and that's why we're scoring a lot.
right,
But also, the middle ball is a lot lower than
and
those
faster.
and faster than those ones. So it's harder for the defense to adjust on the other side to the middle set. So that's also why the middles are very important to get going early, is because they're more successful because of the faster ball.
And we want to use that to our advantage whenever we can.
Yeah. Well, we could talk about middles. I love middles. But yes, okay, let's move on to maybe what to talk to your kid about after a tough loss or a really exciting win or on the way home, from practice. So we encourage our parents to watch practice. I think it's something that's really important for them. But maybe, you noticed something in practice that they did really well or they didn't do really well, and you want to talk to them about it, but you're also kind of nervous to talk to them about it. What are some things that maybe they can say?
Well, the first thing parents always say is, "What did coach say?" And what does the kid say?
I don't know.
Nothing. I don't know. I don't know. Whatever.
Something.
So that's not the right technique, right?
Right.
And parents always want to give their opinion to their kid. You should do this. You should do this. You should do this. That's totally the wrong approach. So you have to ask them. Where do they feel they're doing well? Where do they feel they need improvement? What can they do? What can I do as a parent to help you do that, rather than telling them what they need to do?
Right.
And the same thing we talked about with stats. You don't want to go over the stats like you need this, this, and this. You have to let them figure it out, sort of in that way. One of our parents was telling me at the last tournament, I thought this was great advice. On the way home from the tournament, he asks his daughter to tell him 3 things that she thinks she did really well in that tournament, which is great because that opens the door for, hey, I'm doing great at this. And then tell me 2 things you think that you could improve. And me as a parent, I'm not going to tell you what I think those 2 things are. You tell me what the 2 things are you think you can improve. And then when they tell you that, okay, how can I help you, or how can your coaches help you to improve in those things that you think you need to improve in? And that's super great advice, because then they can come to you or me and say, hey, I think I want to improve in this. What can I do?
Yeah.
And where can I go? And what should I work on? And that helps us communicate with them and work on those things that they want to work on.
Yeah, I love that. I think opening the narrative, right? You want to ask open-ended questions, not just a yes or no. Do you think you did well? Yeah. You know,
Right.
do you think your team did well? Yeah.
Right.
Right. It's like you want to ask the whys question. And I think the more that the parent maybe uses the volleyball language, the better, the more receptive the kid is going to be as well. I think it's really awesome when a parent is like, so I saw you do this block and you guys are playing rotational defense and in this serve receive, how fun was that? That ball that you hit, the 3 ball or whatever
They
it
don't know
is.
what they're talking about.
Yeah, just
Then the kid will laugh at him and go, "Mom, you don't know what you're talking
right. And then they say, okay, well, tell me what I'm supposed to be talking about, right? And
about.
then
Explain it to me.
right, help me understand
How
more.
does that work?
Yeah, and I think definitely starting off with the positives. What do you think you did well this week? What do you think in this practice that you did something really
And
well?
we tell them in the meeting after each tournament, before they go and get in the car with their parents, that we don't talk about negative stuff. Let's not bring up anything negative. We don't want to hear about it.
Yep.
Because that tournament's done and over, and there's
Yep.
no constructive reason to talk about negative stuff.
Even
Something
day
you did
one.
wrong, or something the ref did wrong, or something that
Right.
coaches did wrong. Yeah, or even between days in a tournament.
In between games, we'll tell them, maybe we lost 25-10 and we're like, listen, that's a really bad game. Do not talk about it.
Yeah.
You can be sad for maybe 3 minutes. Don't talk about it with your parents because I think sometimes they go like, well, why did that happen?
They wanna harp on
Right? And they want to ask all the questions and you say, I tried my best. And I think, as a player, just continue telling your parents, well, I tried my best.
Well, and we tell the kids too, if your parent brings this up and they want to talk about that bad play or that, bad ref or that bad result of that game, so coach doesn't want me to talk about that.
Yeah, blame it on us, right? Coach doesn't want me talking about volleyball right now. What are we having for dinner? And just move on. Because the more that you sit in that loss, right, the game's over. It's done with. The more you sit in it, they've learned.
Right.
They learned their lesson. Coach probably yelled at them 10 times about the same thing that they did. They know.
And we're going to work on it in practice.
Right.
And
they'll
remember,
get better.
ice cream fixes everything.
Ice cream fixes everything. So do you think there was anything maybe growing up with me that worked in the car ride home? I feel like we spent a lot of time driving to and from practice together and tournaments and all the stuff. And I know I was not an easy talking person, especially about sports, right? Because I remember being like, well, I know everything and you know nothing.
Well, a lot of times you didn't want to talk about it because you just spent 3 days, 8 hours a day playing and living volleyball, so you may not want to talk about it on the car ride home. They might want to reconnect with their friends. They might want to listen to music. Their kids. They might want to do other stuff. There's no real necessity to spend that whole car ride home reviewing the whole weekend's events. So I'd say talk about other things, or like we said, talk about things you think you did great.
Yeah.
You did well. There's great parenting advice is praise your kid. Tell them all the great things they did. Forget all the other stuff. Tell them all the great things they did, because that gives them that positive encouragement to say, hey, volleyball's fun. I'm good.
Right.
I'm doing well. I want to continue doing that.
Yeah, for sure. And I think I like the just kind of letting them be. I'm sure there was so many times where you had all these things that you wanted to talk to me about, but you just let me play on my phone or go on Instagram or Snapchat or whatever it was. And
It seemed important at the time, but it really wasn't.
And then when I was ready to talk about it, so were you, right? Sometimes you just need the hour of decompression before you're like,
Yeah, and then the other important thing is the encouragement and the you can do it, because
Yes.
a lot of times kids get in the mode of I'm not good and I can't do it, and that one's better than me and coach isn't playing me. No, you're good and you can do it, and you just
Right.
need to keep working at it and plugging at it, and you're gonna get there.
right. And I liked the point too of how can I help you, right? If you are needing some extra help, how can we help you? Can we set up some private lessons? Do you want to go out back and work a little bit harder? Are there things that, coach is telling you that we can do at home? Those kind of things, I think, as a parent is really important. But again, on their terms, because the
Right.
second that you flip it and you say, we have to go do this, they're not going to want to.
Right.
Guaranteed.
Well, when it's not fun, why would they want to do it?
Yeah, we have to keep volleyball fun. That's my number one rule. I think this is my favorite rule ever, is volleyball is fun. And there's times where you can see it on the court. You can see the girls kind of shift and they're not having fun. And I'll call a timeout and I'll be like, hey, just a reminder, like, you joined this because volleyball is fun. Like,
Are we having fun right now?
right. And they all shake their heads, no. And then, I do something to make them laugh. And I'm like, okay, just remember, go have fun. And it usually it works out to our advantage where we score a couple points and then they're having fun again.
Yeah. Yeah. And our parents know this, but in our parent meeting, the first thing we talked about is the 3 things that we want to get out of volleyball. We want it to be fun. We want them to get better as players and learn something. And we want to win. And win is number 3.
Yep.
Because fun is number 1 and getting better is number 2.
Yep.
So that's, if we instill that in them and the parents back us up with that, then what could go wrong if you're having fun?
Yeah, exactly. Volleyball is fun. Okay, so a little bit more about behind the scenes. So going into a tournament, we look very closely on our lineup and how our lineup changes. And we have 10 players on our team, right? Some teams have 9, some have 12. Everybody has different numbers of players on the team. What are some things that we take a look at the week before to help us, or maybe even the game before, or even maybe the set before, that mid-game switch up to help set up our lineup?
Well, it's always, who's going to play where? And where are we best situated to perform the best that we can? We have some standard rotations that we run relatively often because there's not a lot you can change up when you only have 10 players. We have 2 setters and we have, different hitters and defensive players. So our lineup is relatively set. Sometimes we may switch a right side to the outside and outside to the right side just based on matchups and things like that. Sometimes we may run one setter through the front row. But in preparation for another team, the thing that we do the most is we look at where should we start our rotation to match up best against that other team. So in pregame warm-ups, you'll see me watching the other team's warm-up.
Yep.
And I'm watching it because I want to see who their key hitters are, who their big blockers are, and try and match up our players best against them. If we know a team, great. Or if we've scouted a team, great. We know, that's their big hitter, outside hitter. We better get our big blockers set up against there. So let's start our rotation here so they spend enough time in the front row against that big hitter.
Yep.
Or, they have a big middle. We want to get our big middle against their big middle so we can block better. Or we want to match up our 2 best blockers against their best hitter to give us more opportunities. So we'll set that rotation. But then there's other things that we do with that rotation. It's not always blockers versus hitters. We have a player that's playing really well, high hitting percentage, scoring a lot for us. Well, we want them to be on the court as much as possible. So we might start them in the first position where they would have subbed in, which is position number 4 on the court, so that they get 3 positions across the front row right in the beginning of the game so we can score as many points as we can. Then they rotate back around and are in the game more. So that's a consideration. The other consideration, and there's a lot of them, is who do we want to serve first?
Yep.
Who are our best servers? Who's scoring the most points in serving? Who's having long serving runs? So we want to get those players in the service spot early in the game and often in the game.
Right.
But then there's other considerations. Like in our last tournament, we had one player who was just lights out, going on 6-point serving runs every time she was there.
Right.
But we put her in there the first time and she didn't score points.
Right.
So she needed a little bit of time in the game to get moving.
Right.
And then her serves were right on. So we wanted to back her up a little bit, get 2 rotations and then serve.
Yep.
And that worked out well for us. So all of those things go into that. Where do I set up in rotation? And I'll tell you a funny story from when you were playing. I was the assistant coach, our head coach, and I was in charge of setting the lineup. And he wanted a certain player blocking a certain player.
Right.
So I'm trying to figure out where are they going to start. We have no idea where they're going to start. They get to start wherever they want. So we would lurk around the scorer's table and try and see what they were writing down on their card, which didn't always work.
Yeah.
But there's like this whole gamesmanship of, well, where are you going to start? Where are they going to start?
Right.
And I've seen coaches too where they start in one rotation and then the next set they start completely opposite of that just to fool you because they don't want your hitters against their blockers.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
So you
Or
have
vice
to
versa.
kind of get a figure for, well, what are they going to do? What are you going to do?
Yeah.
What's the best advantage to both teams? So
Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah.
Lurking around.
yeah,
Well, we also
kind of seeing, hey, what's going on over there?
Yeah, we also will watch, in day 1 of a tournament, we're playing, 3 teams in a pool, and sometimes we're lucky enough to be able to ref the teams that we're playing, or we'll scout them a little bit, and we'll see where they start, and we'll see if it's the same thing every single time. we take note of that. And I think not a lot of people understand that coaches do watch these things and take a look out for them. But
Right.
I think it's also, I love sharing this story about mom when I was playing and how she didn't understand that even though I was starting in the back row as a middle and the libero was subbing in for me, she thought that I wasn't starting on the court. And I think that's something that's really important for parents to know, is that if your kid is not automatically on the court from point one, it's not because they did anything wrong. It's because of the way the rotation is working.
Right.
Especially if they're a middle, because they're not really going to play back row. That libero, who's the one who's wearing the different colored
Right.
jersey, they're going to go in and play for the middle and the back row, and then they rotate.
It's not
through.
because they're not a starter or because they're not the best player on the team. It has nothing to do with that.
It could
has
be
to do
because
with
they need to block the other hitter that's going to rotate
has to
up.
do with strategy of
Yeah.
where do we want those players in the rotation. And we're lucky enough to have 10 really good players on our team, and they all get playing time and nobody's really sitting on the bench. So we're able to move everybody through the game. But just because you're not on the court when the whistle blows doesn't mean that you're not the
Right.
starter or the best player, because we also have to spread out our players throughout the rotations to make sure we have an even spread of players throughout the game.
Yes.
You wouldn't want to put your 3 best players in a row and then all of a sudden they're off the court and now you're not as good.
Right.
Not
Or-
talking about our team, but just in general of,
Right.
of teams.
Right, your highest hitting percentage, you don't want them stacked in 3 and then they rotate back. Or, maybe your best serve receive passers. You want to kind of spread everybody out. And that's, again, based on numbers. And it could change between sets. Maybe somebody's not having a great game and you just have to rotate it through. But one other thing.
Yeah, that's another thing. Should we talk about that? Do we have time to talk
Yeah,
about that?
yeah. Talk about that.
I mean, you'll see sometimes where our outsides will play across the back row. One of them will, and the other one will get a DS for them. And sometimes it's one of them, sometimes it's the other one. But does that mean that one's better than the other? No, not necessarily. It means that maybe in that game, one's passing better than the other. Or maybe we want to rest one of them because it's a 3-day tournament. And if they play all the way around for every set of every tournament, by day 3, they can't even function.
They're going to be exhausted.
So
Yeah.
there's a lot of reasons why kids come on and off the court, not just based on, stats or skill level or, exactly.
Yeah, and sometimes I love this is like, I know they're 14, but I try to even ask them. I'll ask them, how are you feeling? Are you feeling confident in your back row today? And they'll sometimes tell me no. And that's okay, right? It's because we have the option. And I don't like them to have to choose against each other, but I do enjoy when they have a conversation like, hey, you're passing better, so let's let you do that in this
Right.
game, right? It's a team effort. It's not just coach putting 2 girls against each other and saying, well, you're better than her and that's why you're doing it, right?
Right.
It's what's going to be best for the team.
Right. And we also have that philosophy of nobody owns a position. So
Right.
the club owns the positions, and the players get space in the position at a certain time whenever we think it's appropriate. So-
Yeah, and I think throughout the season too, remind your players it's a tryout. They are constantly trying out for your team. They're constantly trying out for their position. Maybe we'll do this week, is just remind them, hey, remember, you're trying out to play this weekend. And again, we have great players, so we try to play them all.
But it brings that level
But it brings the
of competitiveness
competition.
up.
And I think one last thing to touch about the rotation is that maybe your kid, and has to do with outsides, they might not start in because we rotate. We don't want to waste a sub. So just remember, we only get 15 subs, which they upped,
True.
which has
That's
been
a
great.
great thing.
Yeah, they used
us.
to be 12, but now it's 15. And sometimes you'll get to the end of the game and you'll be like, wait, why is that girl playing in the front row? Well, they probably ran out of subs.
Right.
So
So-
we also try to adjust our lineup to make sure we're using the least amount of subs
Yeah, so
possible.
we may start one of our outsides in the back row position ready to rotate into the front row just so we don't waste a sub of a player playing that one position for one rotation, then having to come in and out.
Right. Yeah. So that's just some more strategy. And parents, hopefully this made a little bit of sense to you, and
Yeah.
it really, maybe opened your eyes as to why your kid's
Yeah.
not in the game to begin with, and sometimes, and maybe they are sometimes. And again, that's something
And they can ask us that. We
Yeah.
don't have a problem with that.
Yeah.
We usually will explain why we're doing something. There's usually a reason, or the kids can
or
ask us
have the
too.
kids ask for sure. Just be like, hey, is there a reason why? And we'll say, oh yeah,
There's
because
also-
we want this person to serve. It has nothing to do with you, which
Right,
I
and
think
we'll
is
tell
a
them that, too.
big thing. Is remember, it might not have to do with you, right? Is like, it's not that you're doing bad, it's because we want this person to serve first. And that's totally a good conversation to have.
Then there's other times where we'll just make a substitution because we want to break a server on the other team who's just scored 4 points in a row. We only get 2 timeouts, right? So if we've used our timeouts or we want to save our timeouts, maybe we'll make a substitution in the back row or the front row just to kind of break up the flow of the game. And you'll see other teams do this as well. It's a pretty common thing. But parents may not understand, hey, why is my kid getting taken out?
Right.
Well,
She hasn't touched the ball in 3 points.
They didn't do anything wrong.
Her.
But we need to change the flow of the game, and then we might put her back in, or we might let it rotate around, or we'll see what happens. And a lot of times that works.
Right. It's just one small adjustment that can help the team as a whole. Mm-hmm. For sure.
Or even, rotating in serve receive to a different serve receive. And we'll talk about that another time because that's a whole other topic. But
Which kid pulls back and which kid is going to pass the ball and things like that. Yeah, but for today, I feel like we covered a lot of topics. We had a lot to talk about.
Right.
So we'll just wrap up here. We covered our tournament prep on what we're going to do this weekend practice. We talked about how we're going to get our middles involved. We talked about our serve receive. We talked about what to talk to with your kids about after games, in the car, before practice. How can I help you? And then what we just finished on here was talking about the behind the scenes of how coaches choose their lineup.
Yeah, so on the car ride over to the tournament, maybe you're talking about those things that we talk about at practice.
Listen to this podcast.
Listen to the podcast. Like goals. What's your goal for the weekend?
Yes.
What are you hoping to accomplish? What are you going to work hard on? What have you been trying in practice to get better at that might show up this weekend? And then the other thing, going back to when we talked about fun, is how can we have fun this weekend and make it fun?
Yeah. How can I cheer for you? What do what's the best cheering for you? And I like the goals, right? Hold them not accountable as in the way of you didn't do this, you did this, but if their goal is to get 3 blocks, when they do that, make it a big deal.
Right.
Remind them that was your goal and oh my gosh, you completed it. Let's make a new one, right? So just, parents, that's a really cool point.
Good idea.
And then, so our next episode, we will be in Tampa. We have a 3-day tournament. So we're playing Saturday, Sunday, Monday. I think we're going to get some parents interview involved.
Let's try.
Yeah, let's get our parents or other parents. If you're in Tampa, you're listening to this and you want to be interviewed. Come say hi and, answer some of our questions. We'll get some more parents' insight on maybe tournaments and some fun things that are going on behind the scenes for parents.
And then maybe we'll record something on the car ride home.
Yeah, we'll do our little recap on the car ride home. So I think that will be great. But thank you again all for listening. Such a great week. We're super excited again. Thank you. Follow us, comment below, and
tell your friends.
Have a great week.
Bye.
Woo!